You're listening to In Healthy Company with Dr. Tim Stevenson. In this podcast, we're all about mental health and general well-being. We'll be interviewing guests and providing a safe space for them to discuss any mental health issues. For me, holistic health is far more than just not being sick. Please remember we're unable to give health advice on an individual basis. However, please do feel free to email us with your issues at wellbeing@thehealthycompany.com, and we may deal with them on the show. Welcome to In Healthy Company. Today I'm meeting up with an old friend of mine, Robbie Savage. Robbie and I have wanted to record something about some of the trials and tribulations that he's been through over the years. And in it I want to be bringing out something of the lovely, bubbly guy he is, but also the vulnerable person that perhaps doesn't come across quite so much whenever he's being an abrasive sports pundit or indeed whenever he was dancing on Strictly. I hope you enjoy our meeting. Okay, it's lovely to be with Robbie Savage here. I'm in healthy company with Robbie. And I first met Robbie whenever we were both at Brighton and we were in the changing rooms, and Malcolm Stewart, the physio, was tending to Robbie with a massage before his first game. Big time superstar, and he was at our little porta cabin in Withdean. And I turn up with a big blonde wig with Robbie having his face down, and Malcolm says, "Here's the team doctor, Robbie." And I was like a German porn star, but sadly without the good looks. So anyway, Robbie, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Today. Yeah. I've been really lucky in football because a lot of the players in Brighton was a team that was a real family club, and back then we were really small, and there was just me, the manager, the physio, and that close-knit team of people. So I've had a really brilliant time. Before we ever had sports psychologists in Brighton in football, I did everything. So I was like the medical guy, I was the psychologist as well. So we dealt with problems on and off the pitch, really. Yeah. So that's how we first met.
I remember the first. Well, to be fair, we'll go on to this later. But Brighton, I would say Brighton at a point in my life when I was at the lowest of the low, almost saved me in a way. We'll go on to that later. So for me, that month in Brighton, getting away from the troubles at Derby, psychologically, emotionally, physically, was probably one of the best months I've ever had in my whole footballing career for different reasons. And as I said, we'll come on to that later. But the first thoughts of Brighton was that, you mentioned about getting a massage off Mal. And I remember that I was lying face down on the treatment table and there was oil. He was giving me a massage oil, and I felt this thing licking my leg, and I thought, what on earth is happening here? Porter cabin in Withdean, and I've got something licking my leg, and people saying Rooney, and I thought, who's Rooney? And as I turned round, it was Mal's dog. So the dog was in the porta cabin. Rooney.
We signed Rooney, it was in the papers.
Licking my leg, and I thought, wow, what have I? That was the first day. What have I let myself in for? I remember I had a car as well. One of the lads hid my car on the first day. The first home game at the Withdean. And I was very fortunate to have played in the Premier for so many years. I had a nice car. I had a lovely sports car. I remember turning up to the Withdean, and the guy on the gate said, "Oh, Mr. Savage, we've been expecting you." He said, "Sorry, there's no parking spaces left." So I said, "Well, what shall I do?" And he said, "Tell you what, see that curb over there? Go up on the curb, park on that bank." Well, the car was that low. If I'd have gone up the curb, I'd have took the front end off. So I thought, oh, here we go. But listen, I had an amazing time. I met so many great people. You're a friend who I speak to, quite a bit. Still, Glenn Murray, who I met there, who's gone on to do remarkable things. Brighton is very close to my heart.
No, it's brilliant. No, and you and I did build up a good relationship and a bit of banter, and you still owe me the signed book.
You never did it.
You always promised.
They sold out.
Never had it.
They sold out.
Yeah, well, okay, no problem. But yeah, we've chatted through the highs and lows of your career, and I wanted to really start at the beginning and really what it was like and what it felt like to make it as a kid and get into what it felt like.
You've worked with lots of footballers, and in and out of football. And I think the one thing and I've been thinking about this since I knew I was going to do this podcast with you. I've been thinking of what drove me to be a footballer. When so many people can take different pathways. So in school, I was a bit of a loner in terms of never went out with my mates. Girls would knock on my mum's door. I used to hide in the bathroom, say, "Mum, don't answer the door," because I was that addicted. I would say, it's just my opinion, I think to be a professional athlete and a footballer, in my position of footballer, I think you have to be addictive and possibly have an addictive gene. I don't know. I know there's no research. It's not behind it. But for me, if I think about an addictive personality, I woke up in the morning to go to school when I was 8, 9, 10. I'd kick the ball the mile to school, get to school, read Shoot Match magazine, do my work, break time, play football, dinner time, play football. After when the school bell went, I'd kick the football all the way home the mile, and then when I got home, I'd have my dinner on my knee, and then I'd go and kick the ball against the wall. So that, for me, I was addicted to football. It's never been proven if you've got an addictive gene if you're an elite athlete, but I think I must have, because there's so many footballers who struggle so much when they retire. They drink, they gamble, because I think that's an addictive gene. So for me, the addiction of football was so great that I wanted to be a footballer. And at the age of 12, I got spotted by Crewe Alexandra, went to the School of Excellence there. My father, who sadly passed away, through Alzheimer's, Pick's disease, enabled me to go to football. He'd get home from work at 5 o'clock. He'd have no dinner, straight in the car. I'd be sitting in the seat at the window waiting for him to come around the corner, the cul-de-sac, looking at my watch. And when he turned up, straight bags, bye mum, take me to Crewe, 9 o'clock we'd get home. So that was 2 or 3 times a week. And then the big break was Manchester United. My father, he managed my Saturday team, Bradley. And we played in the semi-final of the Cup. And there was a gentleman called Hugh Roberts, an elderly gentleman on the side, who I never knew was there. And I played in this game, played a good game. So mum was the kit lady. So after the game, we go into the changing room, in Plasmatic it was called. My mum's getting the kit, picking all the kit up. My dad's buzzing because we won. And then my mother actually walked out the changing room. Had, a man said, "Oh, excuse me, are you number 9's mother?" She's going, yeah, but I haven't got time for this, He said, "Oh, we played well." She said, "Oh, thank you very much." She said, "I've got time, got this kit, look at this kit." What mums are like, look at this kit. Because mum used to wash the kit, and in our backyard we had a washing line, and she used to hang all the shirts and socks and great, amazing. So then Hugh Roberts said, "Okay, just take this card." So mum just put it in her pocket. So in the car on the way home, it's true story, the car on the way home, mum said to Dad, she said, "Oh, Rob, you play well, son." "Yeah, thanks, Dad, thanks, Mum." She said, "Oh, this man come up to me after the game and give me this card." So she got it out of her coat, Manchester United scout. And you imagine me, "What, Mum? You never spoke to him?" I was crying. "What are you doing, Mum?" Anyway, the number was on it. So my father rang me to get home. He said, "Listen, your boy's, he's so excited. He's got this, he's got this, he's got that. I'd love to invite him for a trial." And this is the game, same guy that found Mark Hughes. It was for me an amazing thing. The excitement, the nervousness, the trepidation, everything was wow. So I went for a trial to Man U at 14 in the school Easter holiday. And this is a great lesson for anybody, and in life as well, that it was a half-term camp, and we stayed in the University of Salford, the halls of residence. David Beckham, John O'Kane, people of that staff, David Beckham, for instance. So we'd all stay together, and then we'd go to Littleton Road to train. So the week would end on a Friday with a game. So all parents were allowed to watch the last game. So we played against the Swiss side, and I was centre forward. And I'm not joking, to this day, I had the worst game. I was that nervous, I was that scared. I had the worst game I've ever had. And I'm not joking, I mean I couldn't trap the ball. Some people might say that I continued throughout my career. I couldn't run. My legs were like jelly. I couldn't do anything. So I've come off. My father was like ill with it. I knew, because whatever you do in life, you know if you've done a good job. And you can tell people, you can have insecurities, you can ring 5 different people, how did I do? deep down, your parents and you know, don't you? And so you can make excuses, that wasn't right. But I was always thought, you know what, I know. Come off, I didn't do well, Dad. He said, don't worry, son, you know. And he got home to Mum. They were crying, you know. Anyway, that night, Hugh Roberts phoned up my mum and dad and said, got some good news. Fergie was there. Seemed something he liked. Wants to sign in 4 years. So I was like, wow, the emotion. So to this day, I don't know what he's seen. But just goes to show that even though you might think, if you give everything you've got and you think that, do you know what, I've not done well, somebody might see something that they like in you.
Brilliant.
And that for me was an amazing thing. And I go that forward now. So I was trying to look for the positives. When I coach my kids now, if they're not playing well, to look for the positive. And that thing he's seen, obviously, he was right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the real positive bit of it, the excitement of it. Yeah. What did it feel on the other side of that whenever you were no longer part of that?
Well, that is a huge disappointment. So when you're growing up in school, you've got your schoolmates. Then you leave home at 15. You go and live in a house in Salford from your mum and dad. You know, I was a 2 up, 2 down cul-de-sac. My same mates come from nothing, and then you go into this big wide world in Manchester, Salford. You know, it's a different. You have to have a different mentality. So I'm in the house with 16 lads. Me and Keith Gillespie from Northern Ireland, great lad. We had a single bed each, a little table, and a TV in our little room. With him for 3 or 4 years, so you become another family. So you leave one family and you go into another. So class of '92, David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, you know, all went on to have amazing careers. So you're training every day, you're playing every day, you're getting all these accolades, best youth team ever, and you're thinking, wow, what is happening to me? Got the Manchester United shirt on, dreams come true. And then at 19. You had a first year pro, so I've been there for 5 years, from 14 to 19. Then at 19, the decision's time being made that, are you getting kept on or are you getting released? Nerves, the butterflies in the stomach. Anyway, I was honest. I did not know which way it was going to go. Usually, you know, you think I've not done enough here. Honestly, I don't know which way it was going to go. Anyway. Up the stairs at the cliff of the iconic building, the iconic stand. Walk up, knock on Fergie's door. Come in, Robert. He's called me Robert. Sat down, and from the first words, "You've done great." You're thinking, but you know, I've got centre forwards here: Brian McClare, Mark Hughes, Paul Scholes, Dion Dublin. You know, he said, "Listen, you've done great, son. Part of the class '92, you know, but I'm going to release you." And those words were, wow. A, I thought it was a failure. B, I've let mum and dad down because of all the times they enabled me, took me everywhere. You know, the smiles, the happiness. For then to think, wow, first thing was, wow, it wasn't about me, I've let mum and dad down. So it's bizarre because for 5 years you're part of a family. Then he tells you, you walk out the cliff. That's it. No job. No, nothing. Thinking, wow. So I'm driving home a little Fiesta. My mind scrambled. Turned to my best pal from school, Jamie. Rung Jamie and said, "Listen, mate, I've been released." I said, "I can't face mum and dad yet. I need to gather my thoughts. I need to see what I'm going to tell them. Meet me in the car park in Gwersall, where we were from. I'm from Bradley, but it was a mile away. And then we'll go for a game of snooker. We always play snooker together." So he said, "No problem, mate." Anyway, I met him in the car park. He had a blue Fiesta, I had a white Fiesta. So the snooker club from the car park, we gave each other a big hug, was about a mile. So he said, "I'll follow you." So off we go past my old... It's the amazing thing is, you couldn't write this. So you have to go past my old school from Gwersall to Gresford. And at that point you have to go past my old school. And as we go past the old school, I had a crash. Head on with a car, right by my old school, 50 mile an hour. You know, thankfully, the elderly couple in the other car survived. 50 mile head on. I lost concentration. Jamie went to the back of me, so it was a 3-car pile up. The ambulance come. You I had to get cut out of the car, couldn't feel my left arm.
My goodness.
So, ambulance to hospital. So you think now, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh no, been released by Manchester United, can't feel my left arm, my neck, I'm going to be lying in the hospital bed, mum and dad's going to come and see me, so the double whammy, first and foremost, they're going to get a phone call off the hospital saying your son's ended up in hospital. They didn't know I'd been released, so you're thinking, my mind is, what am I going to say? So obviously when they've come, first and foremost, crying, are you okay, son, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, I think. And then I've told them I've been released. Well, they didn't care. I was their son lying in their bed.
Absolutely.
But I just felt such a letdown. The car they bought me was 900 quid written off. You know what I mean? So I've gone from, you think that morning, going to work, a Manchester United player, with the dreams, with the world at my feet, to that night, no job, getting released, and in a hospital bed. Yeah. So, it was a tough start.
Absolutely. That brings me on to, how you deal with those sort of things. Have you any sort of, that's a brilliant example, so how did you turn that around?
So there's a point then in your life, and and I'll hear this now of lots of people, I could have been a footballer, if I'd done X, Y and Z, well, you couldn't have been a footballer because you weren't addicted to it, or you didn't have that drive, that determination, that desire, that dedication, and I was lying there, I think there's two options here. Do I want to give up on my dream, or do I want to fight? And I'm a fighter. So I thought, right, as soon as I got out of hospital, I rung crew, and Dario said, I'll take you back. So that was the first thing. But then I've gotten a crew, and I've gone into the B team. So for the first year, I was playing in the Lancashire League when I was 19 against Bury's A team, Rochdale's A team, with like grown men, because I've gone from a kid to grown men, and physically I was nowhere near it, and now I'm in a massive position where I'm getting out strength, out muscled, outpaced, mentally not strong enough because it was a different type of football in League Two, and I'm thinking again. But there was one moment which sticks out. There was an old man called Neil Baker, because Dario, obviously believed in me because he took me back, but I couldn't get in the team. But Neil Baker there's always somebody at a football club, or there's always somebody in your life who you think, do you know what, if it wasn't for that person, it might not have been. So my dad, Eric Harrison, who sadly passed away recently, made us all humble, work ethic, on and off the field, respect people, and Neil Baker, we played at Burnley, we won 6-3, I scored a hat-trick, one of the best hat-tricks, you could see. And I remember he said, you'll be fine, son, you'll be fine, keep working hard. The working hard thing was all the way through my career. Work hard, you'll get rewards. And that was the hat-trick that changed, because after that, I got into the Wales under-21 squad. So you've gone through your life, mentors, Bobby, my dad, my mum, Eric Harrison, Neil Baker, and then the turning point, the big turning point was Bobby Gould. So from that, I got into the Wales under-21s, and we played a game against Germany. And I was in training. Bobby was watching training. He was managing the first team, worked with the national team, but I got in the under-21s. And he come to the game, and in the first 5 minutes, I was playing centre forward, and he come down from the stands, and he said to the manager, I think it was Brian Flynn, I can't remember who the manager was. He said, put him in midfield. Went in midfield, and I never looked back. I run the show against Germany, because I had the energy up and down, making tackles, passing. And from that moment, I went back to crew. Bobby rung Dario, and even the footballing brain of Dario, he didn't see it. Eric Harrison, the footballing mind, all the great players, never. He might have seen it, but he thought it was centre forward. Fergie, Bobby Gould, who said to Dario, put him midfield, went to midfield, and never looked back. Yeah. Never looked back. If I'd have been a centre forward, I really don't think I would have been a footballer.
Yeah. And I think midfield, I think back on so many teams, and midfield really is like I'm not a football statistician. It is the engine room, and it's you talk about midfield general, and, Jimmy Case, whenever I was first in football, and Jimmy was, a really good example of that, just sitting in the centre and controlling the game.
But, when people say about, you need a bit of luck.
Yeah.
Is it luck? Is it luck? This is the thing, and I can ask you here, from a psychological point of view, So all the factors to be a footballer to that point, when I get my breakthrough into Crew's first team. So what I've gone through throughout my career is rejection, hard work, desire, pathways were right. In terms of that pathway was right for me. Are we saying there is a little bit of luck from somebody's being at the right place, right time, seeing that you should have been a midfield player, or is that?
No, I think there probably is some aspect of luck in it. But what you've done is built up all those building blocks that make you more likely to succeed than somebody else. So it's a bit like health generally. You know, if you see somebody who smokes, has had a family history of heart problems, and everything else is going well for them, well, all they have to do is stop smoking, and it changes them to a different risk factor. Right. And with you and the football, if you have like 15 of 18 building blocks in place because you worked so hard, then, you know, actually it is a bit of luck for somebody to give you that break. But we were chatting earlier on over breakfast about, you know, different ways of learning. Yeah. And I think other people, you know, it is luck in a way that, you know, yes, like you said a minute ago, that Fergie didn't recognise one bit of it. Yeah. You know, but it's a jigsaw, and it's a jigsaw that's actually worked out very well for you. And what we're talking about today as well is not just, you know, a footballing career is really short. I mean, again, over breakfast we were chatting about, you know, how I used to look after the youth teams, and I would advise them, look, guys, get into it. You've got a chance here. Yeah. You know, yes, it's great. You know, you're a professional footballer now, but you know, only 10% of you will make it into a team, and less than that will make it as a really lucrative career. So you know, just work at it, but also make sure that you put those things in place so that if it doesn't work out, you know, keep your education going, keep your, you know, join the PFA, all those sorts of things that you've got to put in place, building blocks, and then keep working, and you've a better chance than somebody else.
Yeah, I never put. So the building block I didn't put in place was the education. I've done a BTEC, and this is where I think I had the addictive personality, because I never ever put in place anything if I hadn't been a footballer. Yeah. So.
No, I can understand that, and I'm just saying that was one of the building blocks that you didn't put in place, but because you didn't feel you were going to need it.
Is that fake then? Is that why? So a lot of people, because you're saying that in the youth team at Brighton, you would say to the kids, put those in place, and I would say that to my kid now, Charlie, who's a scholar at Man U. I would say education, make sure you got something to fall back on. But my mindset was, I won't need it. I'm not going to, because I'm going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? I know a lot of people will say that, but they won't make it. But I was going to be a footballer. I had no option.
Well, when I was that team doctor, and we've spoken about the psychological side that I would be trying to work on, I also turned it around a wee bit and thought, right, if I was that kid's parent, how would he want me to be looking after his son in all those changing rooms where people are screaming and shouting, and, you know, they want me to put my arm around them and say, I actually think you did really well there, mate, and, you know, have a chat with me anytime if you want to be, you know. And it's those sorts of things. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you decided you were going to make it, and people have this thing that, you know, if you believe that you can do something, you can do something. But I think there is a little bit of the stars in alignment, you know, and making it. But, you know, your hard work, you know, again, at the end of your footballing career, and we can talk about that, but, you know, you've gone on to have a really successful media career, you know, and so it's
I think the media career come about because of my personality and the way I am as a person. As you said, putting all those building blocks in place, you know, initiation ceremonies in front of legends of football when you're 15, you know, like some of the things we had to do in terms of the initiations, you know, putting tumble dryers, you know, boot polish the kit and a wire brush on you, you know, other things which made you really come out of yourself. The shyness went, you know, and it's, you know, it's something that I took forward as a captain, all the change rooms, that, you know which players would be up for the banter, you know, the ones who needed an arm around them.
Exactly.
You know, you got to be careful that you don't bully players, because if there's so much banter, you know how to leave off, because what you don't want to do, you don't intimidate any player in the dressing room. You know, you've got, it's a harsh environment. It's an environment which could be the best environment in the world, because if you're an integral part of it. But it can also be the loneliest place in the world if you're thinking, right, you can't take the banter, you're dreading going in training because the lads will be on me. So you've got to be aware psychologically and what the compartments of a dressing room are. There's different characters, and you have to recognise quite quickly which are those characters. So I think I've done that throughout my career as captains of 4 Premier League clubs in my country. But to get to the media career, obviously, as we said, that I was a hypochondriac. I'm a hypochondriac, because I think that I see so many people out there who work so hard, who won't be as lucky as me, and I just think that something's going to happen to me because why me? Why am I the one who played so many times in the Premier League? Why am I who's got a lovely family? Why am I who, has been allowed to do what I've done? Why am I the one who can go and get paid to go watch Barcelona, Man United? So for me, every time I do something, I think something can happen to me because this shouldn't be happening to me. And if I was, the way I look at it, if I was to pass away tomorrow, I've had 44 years of my life, which are 44 years better than most. So I could be thankful for that, but I want it to go on till I'm 100 because this life I'm living is so good and so happy and so amazing that I've had a career in football and now I've got a career in the media where my work is talking football. So not only did I build that reputation since I was 36 playing football, I've now got hopefully another 20 years talking football, and that's happening to me. Why should that happen to me?
But what I interviewed Dee Kafari recently, the first woman to sail around the world the wrong way. Amazing podcast. Have a listen to that one as well. Yeah. But Dee was saying,
good plug, Timothy.
Oh, thank you, Robbie. Just in healthy company with Dr. Tim. But yeah, in that I was talking to her about the loneliness of the long distance sailor, and she was talking about all the different things she had to do, and said, and you've got to remember that you've got to enjoy the journey a bit. Yeah. You're sailing around the world in some wonderful, wonderful things that nobody else will ever have. Yeah. So it's the same with you. You should actually reflect on the things that you've done well. Rather than we've spoken many times, and yeah. I'm not Robbie's doctor, but I'm
a friend.
In honour,
a friend, because we grew a friendship.
I know.
And the way I look at it, you've great friends. You stay in contact.
Yeah. So, and I'm always encouraging you to look at the what you've done, what you are achieving, and enjoy it.
But you know what now? So there's always been. I'm a worrier. I'm insecure, no doubt about it. But there's always that worry where, now in my mind, that because I love what I do, because I'm addicted to football, there's that worry now. That if I say something wrong, it's all over.
Yeah.
So I think that every time I go on the radio or the TV, and you come off, you breathe a sigh of relief that, you could look at the social media, the horrible comments, the horrible people who don't want you to do well, who don't want you to succeed, who are trying to make your life horrible because they might not agree with something you said. All I want to do is go to work. It is work, people say it's not work, but it is work. It's very hard work. The travelling, you put yourself, I've said it before about they come out the wrong way, that I get the train to work from Manchester to London, and then when you have to travel back on a train with football fans who have lots to drink, who think they know you, who some think they hate you, some think they like you, some think they're your friends. So when you're on a train with people who have had lots to drink in a tribal environment, when you're just a normal lad who wants to get home to his family, and it's horrible. So you have to. So I can't accept that because all I'm doing is I'm doing my job and I want to go into my family.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you think, wow, why am I doing this for all this abuse?
Going back to the abuse on the field, and I've often
I used to love that, Tim.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to ask you, because I used to talk about mindfulness on the pitch,
Yeah.
and making sure, not that you were in a zone, not that you were blocking everything out, actually that you accepted what was happening.
Yeah.
You know, listen to the crowd. Someone would
loved
be
it.
wanting you to do badly, someone would want you, just feel that.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did you, so you
That
looked
feeling of walking out the tunnel, knowing that the home fans would love you, knowing that if you'd done a tackle, your name would be ringing around 30, 40, 50,000 people. There's only one Robbie Savage, Super Rob, whatever it was. But then on
big
the other...
plug there, Robbie. Yeah, Super Rob, big time.
Only tell the facts.
I know, okay, sorry. Yeah.
But on the other hand, when you went away from home, everybody hated you. Everybody... Listen, there's a line of abuse, obviously, but, you know, in the terms of abuse I used to get were obscenities thrown by working class individuals, which they do in the office, but with a more hatred, a more tribalism in it, where, you know, if they got on the pitch, which one guy did to me, didn't he, and he put his fists up, you're thinking, wow, you know, in the workplace, you're just performing, you're performing as a footballer for the best of your ability for your team, and I'd done anything I could for my team to win. I didn't care. Yeah. And if I wasn't getting booed by the opposition fans, I would think, I'm not playing well. There's something wrong. Yeah, so I would instigate, at times, a silly yellow card, a stupid tackle, to get myself going, and for the boos to start ringing, for the obscenities to be thrown at me, because I had thick skin. I could take it. You know, I'd been released. I had a car crash. I might not play football again. So that abuse and that anger and that hatred towards me inspired me.
Brilliant.
But now, in this career, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because I'm no longer a person of hate to other supporters. You know, I shouldn't be. I'm a father with a beautiful wife who goes to work, does his job, and just wants to do that. So I shouldn't now be this figure of hate for trolls online, for social media. I get it, they support their team, but that shouldn't be anymore. So I've gone from loving it to hating it.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that negative bit? So like I get totally the bit in the pitch, because I remember Nicky Forster, whenever we would score goals, and he would just run gently past the opposition fans, and he loved it.
Loved it, amazing
absolutely.
Feeling.
But you know, now that has switched round, how do you change? How does that feel when you go home to Sarah and the kids? And,
it's horrible, because it doesn't affect you now.
Yeah.
When I played, it just affected me.
Yeah.
So, and my wife was my girlfriend at the time, but then my wife and the kids were so small, they didn't realise.
Yeah.
So, but now it affects the kids, which that's heartbreaking, because they're of an age now, 15 and 12, go to a good school, you know, and you know what kids can be like. Kids can be cruel. So when they see when my boys see their dad getting all this abuse, because all the kids now are on social media, Instagram and all this, and they all read the comments. You know, they read nasty headlines about their dad in the paper. I remember once when, in one of the papers that a journalist wrote, we were coming back from holiday, got the airport, my son seen the paper, on the back page of the paper was, "Get this man off my telly."
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, a lady wrote a piece, no substance to it, didn't know me as a person, never met me, never spoke to me, but she felt she had the right, and she did, because that was obviously her. Not agenda is the wrong word, but that was what she was set to do that week. Yeah. Write about me, because it must have been a slow week, and it was horrible. Said the way I looked, peroxide hair, he's on everything, he's X, he's a Y. My kids are reading that, so they were in tears. So the abuse now, and I rung the lady, and I just said, "It's uncalled for." I said, "Listen, if you know me, if you think I'm not doing it very fine, don't be personal. You don't know me." So the people on Twitter don't know me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm of a mindset now where, if I sit down with you for 10 minutes, you come away and think I'm an absolute idiot, fine, I'll accept that. Yeah. But until you meet me and know the person, get under the skin, and how much I care for my friends, what I'll do anything for people I know, you know, charity I'll do loads for. I'm an ambassador for Alzheimer's because I've lost my father. You know, for my best pals, I'd drive, if they were stuck in wherever, I'd go and get them. You know, and this is what I am. So don't hammer me when you don't know me. And that piece in particular really sticks in my mind now, because it was a good example for me. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about
it's horrible, and that upset my kids more than anything. And that's for me now, Tim, where that side of it I don't like.
Yeah.
'Cause my boys know.
Yeah.
But they will tell to me, they keep it in.
Do you think, there'll be some people listening who would say, ask him about Strictly.
Yeah.
But do you think that changed?
That changed perception.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Where I had a choice to go to Vancouver Whitecaps and then continue my footballing career, or this is where I think I'm quite astute, quite clever. You know, I come across as a pantomime villain. I come across as somebody who, I play a game. I'm, you know, am I the Robbie Savage on Strictly on TV? So was I the Robbie Savage on Strictly? I am in real life, yes, because I could be myself.
Yeah.
I had no game to play.
Yeah.
I could be myself. I had to learn to dance. I was out of my comfort zone. All this pressure, and I was myself, because I think when you're up against it, worried, I think the real you comes out. The nervousness, the pressure. I remember doing Strictly and thinking people are going to hate me, and for me that was another moment in this building blocks where, wow, people do actually like me. Even now, people come to me and say, "Remember you on Strictly?"
Yeah.
Because the real me come out, the personality, the insecurities. I wasn't great at dancing. I wasn't a great footballer, but what I'd done on Strictly, I worked exceptionally hard, 8 hours every day with Ola, who was magnificent, to be the best I could be. I knew I was never going to be the best. I knew I never was going to win it. But I had this mindset, this attitude, just do the best you can, come across as you, and hopefully perceptions will change. And people's perceptions did change for the better, which was, for me, was the most pleasing aspect of doing Strictly.
I love that. You know, knowing you so well, like, you know, I could feel that, you know, that you were being yourself and that it was a benefit
But
to
now, can you be yourself in the media? You know, do I like everybody I interview? Not really. Do I play Robbie Savage? Of course, because in debates you might take the other side when you don't really believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is. You know, it strictly was. I could be myself, 100%.
Yeah, I just dropped my
I'll
script there.
I'll get it for you. Don't move.
Oh, thank you. Oh dear. Oh no, it's brilliant. And really, you know, some of those, I think, you know, you were saying about, you know, your worry about what happens if it all ended, but you actually answered that earlier on.
Yeah.
You know, if it all ended tomorrow,
Yeah.
look at what you've had.
Yeah.
You know, so I sometimes talk about this for people who have panic attacks. I say, right, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen here? How, you know, let's go down this. And, you know, you get to the bottom and they say, well, I'd fall over, I'd hit the floor, I'd, you know, squash everything on the floor. And I'd say, well, cool, what would happen then? Somebody come up and they'd hold your hand, they'd stroke your hair and they'd say, don't worry, mate, there's a first aider coming. And that's sort of strangely warm and nice. Yeah. And B, it's probably never going to happen. You know, you are going to have a good career. But see, if it did happen, it's not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. You know, you can. I know. You think it would be the end of the world, but someday it will stop, and that's what, you know, for lots of other players, and that's why I think you're absolutely right. Let's not use the word lucky, but you're in a place that is still bloody good, and you know. And
another part was that when you're going through life, as we spoke about, but another moment was when I was with Glenn Hoddle, who had the cardiac arrest.
Oh, absolutely.
On my show. And that showed to me life is so we all have worries. We all have stress. We all have down times. We all have highs. We all have lows. And life, you have to live life. And when Glenn had the cardiac arrest, and if it wasn't for Simon, you know, the guy who initiated the CPR, the defib, you know, because Glenn, you know, he was in a bad way. And then obviously Simon saved his life. So to witness, it doesn't matter if you're a legend, if you know, Glenn was a legend of a footballer. It doesn't matter what you are. Life is so precious. You know, if my brother, if you work every hour God sends, and nobody knows you are, his life is as precious as a legend life of Glenn.
Absolutely.
So everybody's life is, no matter what they've achieved, is as precious as the next man or woman's life. So to see Glenn coming in the morning, it's his birthday, 61, happy, I'd give him a cake, put my arm around him, then he's playing football. And we were playing football, and the show ended, 30 seconds later, he had the cardiac arrest. If the show had ended and he'd gone to his dressing room, or if he'd had gone outside, he wouldn't be here now. Because being in that, and this is where, is it fate, is it luck? You know, he was in the right place at the right time to be saved. And when I think back, he was kicking a football, and then he'd gone. So life had gone.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, Glenn had a family. You know, he was adored by lots and lots of people. He had no signs. Life was over. It was over. So I've seen that firsthand, and that did affect me. That did affect me to think, life is so precious that when I went back, I'm worried about this. I worry like everybody else about bills coming. I worry about loads of things. My kids worry. But realistically, you have to live your life. So now Glenn's had a second chance. You know, he'll live his life. You know, and I don't want it to happen to me where I've got a second chance in life. I need to live life now to the full. And I'm going to worry, and I'm going to have, you know, things in life where I'm going to have to deal with. Traumas, obviously, you know, the older we get. But that was a massive thing to me. Wow, life is so short, precious.
How was that different to dealing with the loss of Gary?
Yeah, Gary was obviously, listen, 3 weeks before Gary, you know, sadly passed. You know, he was at Strictly in the front row, supportive. I used to ring him up as a friend, ask him for advice. You know, and that was so shocking. I remember lying in bed and getting the phone call. I tried ringing him and his phone just rung out. I was thinking, wow, this just goes to show the mental health of somebody who had everything out from the outside. You know, family, lovely family. You know, his mother and father, fantastic. From the outside, a nice house, nice car, good job, Wales manager. You know, everything from the outside looked brilliant. And lots of people said, wow, I wish I could have his life. Just goes to show that inside mentally, if things aren't right, you need to talk to people. Yeah. You really need to open up and talk. And that's what I do with you. You know, I'll ring you as a friend and ask for advice. If I'm struggling, you know, I'll ring mates up. Am I struggling? You know, so that was a huge. Oh, it was shocking. I remember, you know, crying my eyes out. But witnessing somebody in front of you, like, go, is so traumatic.
With Jackie and I, we were travelling up yesterday to the Brighton Man City game, as you know.
Yeah.
And we run the. It was a bit. I had a good day out. I had a lovely day out. But we were on the train, and everybody was talking about the match, and men were talking about things. And Jackie just said, "Isn't it amazing that sport, like football especially, men will feel able to talk and chat things through, whereas you know you'll see men they don't share a lot of the things that are they don't in that chatting they don't share their deepest worries or whatever." Yeah. So I think we've spoken about it before. There's a lot of things you can do in the public eye to raise the awareness of mental well-being, and you and I will do that sometime. And hopefully this podcast a bit of that, because the main thing we should be emphasising here is mental well-being. Yeah. And the things
you can't see it. No. If I walked into a room with a broken leg, people say, how's your leg?
Exactly.
If I walked into a room with a broken arm, people say, how's your arm? If I had a massive cut on my head, 20 stitches, people say, what have you done to your head? But I could walk into a room with mental health problems and people say, you look well, mate, you alright?
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, deep down psychologically knowing, no, it's not right. I've got this on my mind, this on my mind, this on my mind. If you keep it all in, it's not good. Yeah. So that's why now I'm in a position where I can open up. As you know, I've got problems in my life which I speak about to numerous people, but at least I'm allowed to. I know if I was dealing with problems I've got in my life now, on my own, I would struggle.
Yeah.
But because I can share those problems with people, whatever problems they are, I can write them down on a piece of paper and say, there's a list. Negatives, positives, negative, positives, and try and be positive. I've learned that off you. That yes, you know, when I used to say, for instance, my leg's killing me. Well, and you're rubbing off on me. Well, is it killing me? Well, it's not killing me, is it? It might be sore, it might be painful. Can you ice it? Can you get treatment? Can you do something to it? Can you have a massage? Well, so it's not really killing me, is it?
Exactly.
I mean,
absolutely, and that's I've a big thing about the power of words, and the words for you. You know, if I said to you, you were crap today, Robbie. Pull yourself together, snap out of it.
Yeah.
You think I was some awful person,
yeah.
and yet we say those things to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, you just torture yourself.
Yeah.
So turning around those words and using different words, so that you're saying, "Oh, I'm not coping," just saying, "I'm having difficulty dealing with this at the minute." You know, and 95% still bloody successful.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not coping, you're that 5% you think you're failing.
Yeah.
Coping is sinking and swimming.
Yeah.
So really look at it. Well, I'm difficulty dealing with everything at the minute, but actually I'm doing really, really well.
But on the outside, people will look at me and probably think he's got a perfect world, perfect life. But I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't.
But yeah, but it's also the way you look at it and the way you deal with it and the way you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, so often you and I have spoken about it, those times of pressures is like, as we said earlier, switch the phone off.
Yeah.
And enjoy your time with your family.
Yeah.
Just switch it round so that we're mindful of the time that we're in.
See, I used to on a Sunday. So you've always said to me, when you were family time, you can never switch off. You know, and I've got better at it. But for instance, if I do my BT show, my 606 show, my Daily Mirror, everything I do, after a show, I look at my phone and I think, I did okay here. And if you read all the comments, you'd be the worst commentator in the world. You'd be the worst column in the world. You'll be the worst everything in the world if you look at social media. Because the easiest thing to do is look at a negative in something.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is to be positive.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what I try and focus on now mentally is if I've gone on TV and I've said a few things which people might disagree with, and I've looked back and think, oh, should I have said that? You know, what I'll try and do is look for that one positive, which I thought, do you know what? I've done well there. Mm-hmm. And look at that instead of all the horrible people writing nasty stuff.
And that's the thing about social media. I mean, there's this, you know, it's been talked about a lot about, you know, Facebook and people wanting to be liked.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's easier to get a reaction, you know, get some sort of a reaction by a negative comment, you know, so that those negative comments are multiple compared to the positive ones.
Yeah.
Because positive ones, you know, you don't get so many people saying, yeah, absolutely. You know, it doesn't create that sort of spiral of negativity.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe people listening should start to reinforce the positives in the social media side as well as their own lives, because if you're negative the whole time, it does eat away at you. I'm using negative words there, eating away at you, you know, but you know, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it does. If you can look at things many different ways, and I'm now try and be positive. Where, isn't it, if I wanted to look at anything, I could read hundreds and hundreds of comments about me which are negative.
Yeah.
And they would get me down, and I would take them in, and I'd be insecure, and I'd worry, and I'd have stress. But do you know what now? All I want to do is do well. All I want to do is do well for me and my family to secure their future for the rest of their lives. And if that's by, you know, working hard, not seeing them. So, for instance, people will think mentally the job I do is difficult. Physically, it's difficult because. So, for instance, this might come across a bit condescending because I've got a great job. So, for instance, the next couple of weeks, Friday night I'll go to London on a train to work in a hotel room on my own, prepping for my shows. Do 3 shows on a Saturday, get home at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Sunday, take my under 13 football, then go to a game in the afternoon, get home late. Yeah. Monday, if it's a Champions League week, travel. So for instance, next couple of weeks, travel to Barcelona Monday morning, do the game on the Tuesday night in a hotel room on your own, watch the game, hotel room on your own, fly to Porto Wednesday from Barcelona on your own, go to a game, watch the game on your own all day, go into the hotel room at night, fly back Thursday, Friday, prep for my show in a hotel room at night. So, yes, it's an amazing life, but it's lonely, it's tiring, you're travelling, it's not glamour. because I'm doing all that because I love it and to enable my family to have a good life. So people will say, "Oh, how lucky he is," and again, lucky, yes, but it's not luck. It's hard work and dedication, research, mentally tiring, physically tiring with the travel, all to do what I love.
Yeah.
So when people look on the outside and say, I wish I could do what he does, yes, you would. But I tell you what, you've got to work hard for it. You've got to be dedicated. You've got to do your research. You've got to be prepped. Do you know what I mean?
I've seen the research you do. Do you remember I was in the Winnebago downstairs that time, and before it was an Arsenal Liverpool game.
Yeah.
And you know, all the guys on the Winnebago were doing the research for their commentary. You know,
And
people
for
just
somebody
think you just sit down there.
For somebody like me, Tim, again, I started. So my football career, I started from a base of not the most ability in the world, but through hard work, desire, and dedication, and a tiny bit of luck, got to where I got to, right? And I count myself as I think that anybody who makes it as a footballer is a fantastic player, because there'll be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of girls and boys around the world who want to be a footballer, millions, but only a percentage make it. So anybody who makes a living out of football has given up loads of stuff in their life. Even if you earn £50,000 a year to be a footballer, and you do that for 15, 20 years, you're a fantastic player. Because me and you, and people listening, could go to a park pitch on a Sunday morning, look at a team, the Queen's Head, for instance, or the Crown or whatever, look at a game and say, wow, he's a good player. But he is a million miles off being a professional footballer. So for the people who make it, I take my hat off to them. I think they're outstanding talent. So whether you play National League, League One, League Two, if you play in the Premier League, you're the elite of the elite. So when people say he's rubbish, he's crap, no, they're not. They're fantastic players. So I've built that up to get to that point. And in the media, it starts again. Because I'm not a real even though I believe to be a Premier League player for 10, 12 years, you're a fantastic player, I'm starting a position of, again, as a media, I'm not a Rio Ferdinand, I'm not a Steven Gerrard, I'm not a Frank Lampard and Paul Scholes, where they've played at the higher echelons of elite and have won countless trophies. So they start straight away as a 9.5 out of 10 as a media, because whatever they say, people hang off their every word because the names. When I start as a 6, because people will say, well, he won nothing, he won one trophy, didn't play in the World Cup, didn't play in the Euros, didn't play in the Champions League, therefore why should we take his opinion? Why should we listen to him? You know, so for me, again, I have to work harder than the next guy, because my reputation as a footballer wasn't of a medal-winning, successful champion. It was of a pantomime villain who used to wind people up. Who got the best out of himself. So that's where I'm starting from, the media. So, do you get what I mean? So for me,
absolutely.
When I retired at 36, you start again, because I have to earn the respect and the credibility of other people because I wasn't a great player.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to work harder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were saying about everybody's dream. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember dreaming about, you know, the first colour TV I saw was going round to somebody's house to see the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
And I really
what's that, 19, what, 30?
Yeah. It probably was before you were born, actually, Robbie. But I remember going around there and thinking, oh, I'd love to be, you know, part of that team on that pitch. And it was strange. I used to work at Wembley Stadium as a crowd doctor, and I never thought about it. I was the FA Cup final. I was out there, you know, when Liverpool had played Everton after the Hillsborough disaster, and I'm walking on the pitch just before the game. I'm walking around on the pitch and I thought, bloody hell, I'm actually part of the team on match day. And that's the good thing. I mean, I've loved my time in football because, you know, I'm part of the team. You know, nobody knows who I am. You know, nobody knows, but I was part of the team for so long. You know, so you don't have to be the one necessarily, you know, that is who everybody knows. You can still take something fantastic about being part of a team.
But why? So, you know, in terms of going back, so, you know, what is in a person's makeup what is in a person's makeup when they want to be negative about people? Is it a jealousy? Is it a tribal thing? What is it? So, for instance, what is it? Why do people want to be horrible to me?
Yeah,
That's
a really good question because
what's in their makeup?
I don't know.
They'll hear me on the TV.
Yeah.
What's in a person's makeup to say, right, I'm going to tweet this, I'm going to be so horrible to him?
I genuinely,
What is it?
I'm a positive person, and I tend to try and look for the positives in everything.
Yeah.
And I don't want to dwell on why people are so negative. I'm trying to switch it around, but you're absolutely right. I don't know.
Have they got problems in their life? What do you mean? So I would never, from a mental point of view, I would, if I wrote something, I can't understand how people can pick up the phone and the mental attitude to write the words they write. Why? What's in their makeup to do that? Is there something wrong in their life? What?
Well, it's like I said earlier on, it's partly something they're wanting to be liked. So they're wanting to create, a bit like you being the pantomime villain, they're actually wanting to be Mr. Nasty so that other people say, yeah, you're absolutely right. So, they're wanting to be liked. So it's far easier to say something negative to get to be liked than, just be quiet in the background, put your arm around somebody and say, you okay, mate?
Yeah.
I hope you're okay.
And the other thing is, I want to ask you, is that feeling of me when I get hypochondria, if I got a headache, I think, I'll phone you as a mate and say, oh, the head's killing me, I haven't got a brain tumour, that's in my makeup, isn't it? Because I'm a hypochondriac. I'll always magnify this thing and say, oh my God, I remember, I had a piece of dry skin, didn't I, on my face, and I was saying, Tim, I used to go in the sun a lot, it's not skin cancer. You said, well, listen, Robbie, if you're worried, and this is the thing, if you're worried, go and see a dermatologist. I went to see the dermatologist, and amazing lady throws it off. So if you can deal with the situation, you can deal with the situation and think, right, if I do that, it can get sorted. But I always think the worst of what I've got. So how would you stop that? That's for me the fear. That's the fear of dying, because my life has gone so well. I don't want to die.
But the way to turn, I always say we got to turn that around from saying, I'll always be a worrier. Why do you accept that? In the same way, you don't have to always be a worrier. We do some of the stuff that you and I have spoken about mindfulness and just turning down the power of that vicious circle of anxiety and anger or fear. Your fear of things creates more adrenaline, creates more anxiety.
So I've got a fear of dying.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't want it to end.
We've spoken about that. Someday you will die, but you haven't done so far. So, I know that sounds...
No, thanks.
That's all right.
I'm sitting here.
Better not press this too soon. But seriously, so often we dwell on what the negative is going to be, and you're missing the journey while you're dwelling on the negative.
That's the thing. I've missed so much. You're right, because I am missing so much now for worrying about what people are saying and what if I lose my job, if I say something wrong. I'm missing enjoying it. So when I go to Barcelona, Man United, you virtually survive a commentary, because if you've come off air and people are quite nice about you, you survive the commentary, and that's the way I look at it. Yeah. So you're going into it thinking, I hope I don't say anything wrong, I hope I don't upset anybody, because the worry is if you say something wrong, and that's it, you're finished. But
part of your job is also to, in your 5 Live stuff, it's to create conversation as well. If you just say yes, you're absolutely right, the conversation ends.
So you play a game.
Yeah, and that's your job and not there. But going into your personal life, I say this to people all the time, you don't, they say, oh, well, we'll always be a worrier. No, let's change that round. Let's see how we might change it a wee bit. And some of those mindfulness strategies we've spoken about. And
so like what?
Well, taking literally when you get that sudden panic, big deep breath, count to 10, literally stretch out, because stretching out makes your body feel more relaxed, and it fools the part of your brain that, the autonomic nervous system is the automatic nervous system. It's the primitive one. It's like where you say, oh, I nearly peed myself, I was crap myself. I was so worried.
Yeah.
But that actually theoretically is what happens because it stimulates your body. But it also makes you uptight physically.
Yeah.
So if you can make yourself less uptight and literally wind your body down with a big stretch.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you just wind your body down, big deep breath.
Yeah.
By the time your brain actually starts to think it's more relaxed than it actually is. So like you're really, when you're on air and you're worrying about saying something negative, do a big stretch, listen up,
Yeah. And that
have
really
a big
helps.
breath. Totally. It definitely does. It helps me.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks I'm Mr. Calm. I sail.
Yeah.
I do loads of, but whenever I was the doctor for Brighton Marathon, that was the biggest pressure for me, or sitting on that bench, all those guys running around on that pitch. I'm waiting for one of them to have, I'm worrying, what happens if he has a heart attack?
Yeah.
I know that sounds negative, but you have to have that mentality when you're working. Yeah. So it's not negative to have that, you're prepared for it. Yeah. So maybe you turn that round and you say to yourself, well, actually, that's me being professional, trying to make sure that I don't make a mistake here. Yeah. But when the thing finishes, then switch it round and actually start to enjoy and look back and enjoy it and, say, well, that's a job well done.
Yeah.
So those things about changing those negatives, there's a lot in, about trying to decrease the power of that vicious circle of stress.
Yeah.
Like I've said to you, each bit of anger or worry or frustration kicks off some adrenaline, kicks off some cortisol, kicks off like neuroendocrine hormones that I don't even know the name of, and I've had a few lectures and I go, oh my God, I can see why that works now. Yeah. But even the power of negative words. Yeah. So everything you can do to just switch that to being, taking 0.02% off the power of that vicious circle, I think really contributes to the overall feeling of wellness. And like wellness is a complete feeling. It's not just, like you say, it's not just having a broken arm. It's not just not being happy. Yeah. It's actually being fit and performing well. Yeah. And you do, you still work hard. You go to the gym. Yeah. You're trying to be as successful as you can.
I do that, as I said, the addictive personality. I believe I've got to be a footballer. So when you retire, and nobody can prepare you for retirement. So at 36, my last game was at Reading. So it's unbelievable that you think that it's your last ever game. You play the 90 minutes, you go into the dressing room, you get presented with a shirt, you get on the bus, you get off the bus. As soon as you step off that bus, that's it. You're not a footballer. Yeah. So, as a footballer, people want to enable you to be the best you can be. So, everybody in their own individual field, whether you're at the club of masseur, wants you to have be the best you can be, the doctor, mentally, financial advisors, club secretaries, they'll book the restaurants for you. So people just want to try and enable you to be the best you can. So you leave stuff in other people's hands so they can enable you to be the best you can. And as a footballer, nobody ever says no to you. The higher up the echelon you go, if in the Premier League, if you want to eat in the best restaurant, you can just ring somebody and no problem, sir. So the adulation you get, I never heard the word no hardly as a footballer when I played the Premier League if you wanted anything. So as soon as you step off that bus, the adulation goes. People listening will think, what's he on about? But then the longer you're out of the game, those restaurants decline.
Yeah.
Those people start saying no. And the further you get away, then in the end, you've gone from the adulation of the feeling of the most best feeling you can ever have, scoring a goal, crowd singing your name, crowd booing, and then there's this trail to eventually where people don't know you anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky where I'm in the media, but for those people who get to that point, I understand why they suffer. I really do. And I really do. And I think there needs to be more help. There needs to be more awareness for these people who are in that position through no fault of their own, because everybody wants to enable them to be the best they can, but there's always the next person.
I had one I'll not say whether it was what the position of guy played in, but when his career finished overnight, he had to get somebody to teach him how to pay a bill. You know, he'd never signed a cheque from being a schoolboy all the way through. He'd never had to do anything. Everybody did everything for him. I mean, that thing about the end of the career, you know, I had that. You know, of all the managers I've ever worked with, you know, there's only one that's ever not liked me, and that's a strange thing. You know, when you'd like to be liked, and you know, whenever you're finally told that you're no longer part of that inner team, you have to travel on your own drive up yourself to an away game or whatever. It's like
horrible.
It's horrible. How did you? You know, I was in football 17 years, and I was just a doc. You know, but so it devastated me. I felt I've used the word devastated.
When you say you're only a doc, you're a very, you know, you shouldn't put yourself down. Only a doc, you know. You save people's lives where we play football. So when you say only a doc, I get what you're saying.
I mean, only the doc at the football.
But I get what you're saying. But might be in a position at football where you save somebody's career.
Yeah. So I have saved a few.
So when you say you're only a doc is in somebody's life. You'll be far more important than somebody kicking the ball around.
Yeah, and it was interesting that this is in the public domain as well. But at Brighton, you know, it set up a lot of defibrillators around the stadium and things, and there was a match last year and I was in my car leaving, and I'm no longer the doctor, I'm not involved in any way, and the stewards all know me and they said, "Oh Tim, there's a cardiac arrest on the bus there, if everybody's running to it." So I get out and I run across and get my son to park the car somewhere, and there was a nurse already resuscitating this guy, and the nurse said to a guy said to me, he says, "Go on, give him a few breaths. You know, I'm going here. He's just gone down in front of me, gone straight on." And I looked at the guy and I thought, "You're my brother. You're my, you're whatever." So I just got, and it's strange, but in all my life I've never had to give the kiss of life, never before, because I've always had the bags there or whatever.
Simon do it to Glenn.
Yeah. So you know, and I did it to this guy, and I thought, looking down at him, I thought, right, I don't care whether I get a mouthful of vomit or whatever. You know, I think you're going to make it, and he did, and he came on the pitch like about 3 weeks later.
Really?
Yeah, he came on the pitch, and Tony Bloom gave him a shirt, you know, a signed shirt, because we'd have to cut the shirt off him.
Do you know what the interesting thing was as well? And I'm not into. I know we're going off subject a little bit, but life after death. I don't know. I don't know if there is. I don't know. I have no idea. Right? Hopefully there is, because you know I don't want to die. But when you hear the words, he was fighting for his life with Glenn. I remember when Glenn, I had his head in my hands. You know, Simon was giving him the CPR, and Simon kept saying to him, keep talking to him. So it was myself, Steve Sidwell, great fella, Paul Ince, great fella, Harry Redknapp, we were all around, and I had Glenn's head in my hands, and we were all talking to him. And the unbelievable thing, and when I've heard you say words, you know, when it says it's killing me, it's not killing you. When you say fighting for your life, when we were speaking to Glenn, his eyes were flickering. He was responding.
Brilliant.
Even though he was out. And I thought for the first, I never believed that, he's fighting for his life. He was fighting for his life because, you know, even though he was obviously knocked out unconscious, his eyes, you know, at the back of his head, when we were saying, instantly saying, "Come on, Gaffer," I was saying, "Come on, Glenn." Every time there was a emotion.
Yeah.
And how can that be?
Well, I always said, sadly, I've seen a lot of people die. You know, when you're training as a junior doctor, you see a lot.
Wow.
And, you know, when you have family sitting around and the person's going, you know, as I keep talking to them, you know, you get some doctors will come into their room and they'll talk as if the person isn't there. And I'll just go, got it, mate. You know, actually talk. Everything, they can
still hear.
I'm convinced they can.
I'm sure they can.
I'm convinced they can. And you know, so if they are going to die, I want them to die with nice words. I want them to die feeling comfortable. And you know, that was another strange thing. Whenever I was doing like, you know, any terminal care type stuff, if you do a good job in terminal care and somebody has a nice ending, now I don't mean finishing them off, I don't mean euthanasia, actually. I mean, at the end, it's an important time, and it's an important time for the family, it's an important time for them, and you can do a really good job there. So it's quite weird, you know, you say about saving life, and sometimes when you're helping people go gently, and I don't mean that in any drug way or anything like that, I'm talking about the mentality, then it's really rewarding as well.
But I've seen that with my father. You know, and this is one thing where I can't forgive myself is that, you know, my dad had Alzheimer's at 58, Pick's disease, which is the frontal lobes of his brain. And, you know, people, again, were horrible to him that, you know, in the local village where we lived, he was of the old school, went to the local pub, 2 pints every night, 7:30 till 9, half a bitter, half a lager in a 1 pint. I don't know what it was called. I think it's called something. I don't know what it was called. Get home, back about scratches for the dog, and then he retired, and I helped him retire. You know, because he was not well, blood pressure, travelled around the world. So I said, you know, Dad, retire. So I give him some money. My mum and Dad, they had his pension, and so he was going to the local pub, and then people in the local village were saying he was alcoholic, he was aggressive. You know, but it wasn't. You know, he wasn't, and that was the worst thing for Mum, saying, "Hang on, Dad, my dad's not an alcoholic. Listen, which is an illness. Mm-hmm. He's not aggressive, but what it was because the Pick's disease took over. He slurred his words.
Yeah.
His mannerisms changed. The grandkids he didn't want to know. He had no time for them. You know, so he's not aggressive physically. Aggressive just goes how the mind works, mental. Yeah. That it was just that disease taking over his brain where. You know, he was in his own world. So at 63, obviously, you know, he passed away. But it was, and this is what I've said on my podcast I do, that I'll never forgive myself for not being there when he passed. You know, because when you're travelling from Manchester to Wrexham every day to see your dad, and you don't know how long he was going to go on, you know, the night he passed away, obviously I wasn't there because I thought he'd be here tomorrow, and he'd be here tomorrow. So I'll never forgive myself for that.
Okay, but we can work on that because I don't accept that. I never forgive myself. You know, we'll work on that sometime because it's the same as saying I'll always be a warrior. Yeah. You can forgive yourself. How much have you done for your dad? How much good stuff did you do? Yeah. You know, short of actually sitting with a bed 24 hours a day for 365 days of the year, you're not necessarily going to be there whenever he passes. Yeah. But a bit like me and helping people in their life, you've helped him so much. Yeah. And what did he feel? You know, how proud was he of you? Yeah. You know, so if he was here sitting in the chair now talking to you, he wouldn't be saying, "Look, son, you should have been there." Yeah. He'd be saying, "Look, son, you were there all the time, and in a way, I'm glad you weren't there at the last bit." Yeah. You know, so I want you to change that. I'll never ever forgive myself. Yeah. I know it's a bit tearful here. It's quite sad. I know. There's something that you do look back on and, you know, tear it up. No, but you can have regret. Yeah. You can have sadness about it, but you don't have to torture yourself. Yeah. You know, and that's what I say to people about it. It's exactly a situation. It's a loss, and you can turn. You know, as time goes on, people say time heals. It doesn't heal it totally. Time changes the way it makes you feel, and I want you to change that from torturing yourself. I'll never forgive myself. I'm torturing myself every time I think of it. To actually saying, well, I'm sad about that, but I've done all these things, and actually, on balance, I was a good son. I was really helpful at the end. You know, so all of that you've got to turn around. Yeah,
but it's just the other part where people don't see that. You know, this footballer who, you know, looked the way I did in terms of the hair, you know, the false.
What do you think that was good?
Well, I know. But this is what the people's perception is, and the way he played, and he was horrible, and he was this, and he was that, and he's got a big mouth, but. You know, that was of an act of a pantomime villain. I'm a normal, decent guy who just loves life, and that's why I worry so much in terms of I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end. I love life, and it is going to come to an end one day. The worry and stress I take through my life is the same as my brother, who never was a footballer, who never had the pressures of going in, worrying about getting on the train because he's going to get abuse. You know, we're all the same, and I just want now going forward just to have the best life I can. But I will worry like everybody else, won't I? I will.
Yeah, but you don't have to torture yourself.
No,
Robbie, this has been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Yeah. You know, I've absolutely loved it, and you know, we've talked about doing a program sometime for a long time, and this is amazing. You know, we haven't stopped this recording. We've just spoken, and it's been wonderful.
So what advice would you give me then now going forward? So I'm 44 years of age. You know, I'm on the outside. you know, everything looks great. Everything looks great. You know, I do worry. I do have. No, I have been depressed at times. There's no. Let's not hide that. You know, and people will think, how on earth can Robbie Savage be depressed?
But I think you've got a position in your life where you can say that, and people have respected you so much for that recently.
Yeah.
You know, where you've come out and said that, and people should actually go to, you should go to someone not like me. I'm not. You know, I don't do this in real life anymore, and I talk about it, but I don't do it. Yeah. But people should think about talking to a cognitive behavioural therapist or talk to their GP. Yeah. You know, and I've got situations where there's people don't think that everybody else has the same problem. So really, whenever I see managers with stress, like as in corporate managers, big guys who maybe over the years have got, stress is just that, you know, he's just a shirker. Yeah. And actually when they go through something, I say to them, once we've worked through everything, I say, I guarantee you're going to be a better manager because you've been through this. Yeah. You know, you're going to be better because you can feel, you've got empathy for the people you manage now who are dealing with it, and you'll actually look out for it in others, and you'll help them before there's a problem. And that's one of the things we do, is teach mindfulness for managers sort of thing. But for an individual, do ask for help. You know, you'd be surprised. I mean, you know, if you guys don't talk in the pub about who's on antidepressants or anything, but you can guarantee that there's at least 10% of the people there that are on antidepressants. You'll just chat through with people and say, I'm on X or I'm on that. You go, bloody hell, I didn't realise there were so many people. And I'm not saying you should be on antidepressants. I'm just saying, that people can ask for help and should ask for help and shouldn't carry that burden of thinking, well, this is showing sign of weakness, or I'm not as successful as I think I am, or I'm not. One of the things I talk about is imposter syndrome. Whenever you know, where you think, right, well, everybody thinks I'm brilliant, and yet, you know, I'm really good at that, but actually I'm crap at it. I'm shit at it. Yeah. And actually, that's imposter syndrome. That's the you know, just turn that round and say, well, actually, I may not be the best footballer in the world, or may not be the best, you know, commentator in the world, or the best bartender or chef, but you're not the worst, you know, and actually you're pretty good, otherwise you wouldn't be doing the job you're doing. So turn those things around and get the positives. But sometimes you will need help for somebody, because when you're really, really low, sometimes there isn't even the energy to get that help. And that's what saddens me sometimes, where people will, and it's not that they're feeling sorry for themselves, it's just they can't feel happy for themselves. And so it's almost letting people know that that's a time that you should ask for help. That's a time when you should actually not let your barriers down to everybody in the street. There'll be only a few people that you should do that to, because you know, you don't want that people will say, "Are you all right, mate?" Well, actually, for the vast majority, people say, "Yeah, that's fine," and you should just say that. You shouldn't. You don't want to say, "Well, actually, I'm terrified about this. I'm feeling crap about that. And thanks very much for asking. Actually, I'm feeling crap again thinking about it." But no, I'm saying the real help, getting help from somebody, a professional, where you can go in and you can just talk about it, and you can guarantee they've seen it before. You know. And one of the loveliest things for me is whenever I'm talking to someone about anxiety, and I say, I guarantee you'll feel better than this. You know, I've been doing this for 35 years. I guarantee you that you're going to feel better. I bet you think you've been going mad quietly. You're not going mad. You've just been upset. You know, you've had a massive amount in your stress bucket. It's not madness. It's natural. You're not going to be like this all the time. And for people to have that and have that confidence, because, you know, the guy who you're talking to or the professional that you're talking to has seen it before, and actually can honestly say to you, we can make things better. You know, and sometimes when you're really low, you don't feel that's going to be it. But I guarantee anybody listening that life is worth living.
I can certainly echo that. Life is certainly better living.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks very much, Robbie. Fantastic.
Top man.
Thanks, Robbie.
Hope you press record.
I know. I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Robbie. And I really do think that it brought out some of the issues that I see so often in discussing with people about how they say, I'm always a worrier, or that's just the way I am, well, perhaps don't accept it and say, let's see how we can change the way these things are making me feel. Perhaps change the way we look at some things and adjust them and be kind to ourselves. Anyway, I hope you found some interesting and useful concepts there, and that you enjoyed the general conversation, because I certainly did. Thanks again for being in healthy company with Dr. Tim. You can find out much more at my website, thehealthycompany.com. If there are any areas of health and wellbeing that you would like us to explore in future podcasts, or you have any feedback, then please do email me at wellbeing@thehealthycompany.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.